I work as a tutor and consultant with Commonwealth School now, and so I get to see it and experience it from many different perspectives, and this event is one of the lovelier kinds of perspectives that one can take on it. Tell me when I get to start. Okay, here I go. It is apropos that I follow this last story with the one I'm about to tell, because mine too is a creation myth. It's creation myth because it's the story of my birth. It is a creation myth because it is kind of embellished, it's artsy, and it's become legend, at least in the confines of my mother's home. And I don't know how many of you have ever seen the movie Tom Jones. Well, it's one of the original funniest comedies ever made in 1964. It stars the young and hunky Albert Finney, for those of you who need a different reason to see it. But my mother was assigned to bed rest. She had had a relatively difficult time having children. The doctors were being careful with her, but it was a Saturday night, I believe, and March 3rd, 1964, and they told her, you can go out to a movie, but really, take it easy, take it easy. Have a good time, but don't really extend yourself, just be careful. But Tom Jones, for those who've seen it, is hilarious. And my mother, for those who know her, is an object of humor. She loves humor. She has it happen to her. And as it happened that night, she laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed at Tom Jones, probably particularly the dining scene, if anybody remembers that. So she went home that night, and there was nothing to fear but fear itself, because I was only, I think, in vitro at that point for 7 3/4 months. I was very small. But she was sitting around with my father, who was, he's no longer with us, but I will bet my mortgage that he was reading the Sunday Times, because that's what he did. I'm sure that's what he's still doing wherever he is. And that was a Sunday, I think. But my mom probably looked up from her seat and said, "OMG," in exactly those words, and announced that there was wetness and things were kind of flowing, and let's get this going. But it was only 7.5 months, so what more could they do? There was no bath to fill or nothing to do. They jumped in their AMC Rambler or whatever you drove back then, clearly one that had planned obsolescence, because I never saw it. And they zoomed down Memorial Drive to what was then, I think, called the Peter Bent Brigham Hospital. Beth Israel, sorry, corrected. And what happened then was, in a tan, greenish greatcoat, which hung in a closet past which I walked for many, many, many years, perhaps my whole upbringing, in the downstairs closet of coats and stuff that never got moved. They arrived in the hospital parking lot, because in those days there was probably an outdoor parking lot and not too much traffic, and opened this coat, and there I was, the subject of a blues song. I was born in a parking lot. So standing at the door was a security guard and whatever, and they called down a nurse, no napkin, no special gurney, no complex medical equipment. They snipped the umbilical cord right there at the door of the hospital and carried me, running perhaps, up to some kind of warm chamber. I weighed 3 pounds, 12 ounces, and I stayed in that box for about 6 or 7 weeks. I was visited once or twice a day for, some level of affection and mother's milk. I probably didn't get enough of it, but I'm still working on that. I have been early, often, creative, and sudden ever since. And I just will say, the star of this show is sitting right here in the audience, Mimi Burren, 88 years old. Thank you very much.